You got Stryker of Enyo on the brain. This is Stryker's Viewpoint. This is a new segment, and for those keeping track, this is video number 96. That means you are 4 videos away from watching video 100. That's right, you got to finish this video first, of course, then you're going to have 3 more videos. But yeah, 4 videos away. I know. If you're looking at my my intro, you already noticed I've hit 200,000. This is a glitch in the division, but I mean, you know, you guys are used to glitches, right? So this is a topic I wanted to cover, and I wanted to do some more research, so I decided to start doing other videos and finishing them. So this is basically all devoted to the fact that Ubisoft was saying that it was planning on banning players that did glitches in the division. And this issue is, well, I basically wanted to cover, I can't fit it in there, but basically I wanted to do a segment on what actions should get gamers banned. I only got 20 letters to work with in upload, so, you know, forgive me. And so basically what we're talking about is we're talking about competitive multiplayer and the kind of actions that do or do not get players banned, right? And we're going to come full circle with the division. But so basically, you know, they came out with their 1.1 Incursion, and people found a glitch to it pretty much right away. They tried to fix it, and players were still glitching it, and they were getting relatively high gear. And they were claiming that players were, you know, messing up everything they had planned. So ultimately, what gets you banned? Well, according to Ubisoft, at least when it comes to the division, that they have a code of conduct. And that code of conduct clearly states that exploitation of any new or known issues or bugs is forbidden and may result in account suspension or revocation. So, and this isn't necessarily anything new. A lot of other companies have a code of conduct. And a lot of gamers complain about the fact that, you know, some companies don't mention anything or say anything. You know, how are they supposed to know? Blizzard has basically spelled it out, what you can and can't do. We're not talking about, you know, when Valve banned a bunch of Counter-Strike Go players because they were basically match fixing. That was a lifetime ban, and that was completely understandable, for one thing, because they had fixed they had placed bets on the other team prior to a match. And this was in 2015, and they were going up against each other, and they resulted in a $10,000 profit. That means they basically got banned indefinitely from future Valve-sponsored events. We're not necessarily talking about that. But yeah, so we're talking about the division. Now, there is a Ubisoft forum member called Col-Death. Now, I don't know if that's Colonel Death. I don't know if that's :/death or :-death. But COL, you know, -DEATH. Now, he was basically saying that a bug or glitch in the game is considered a game mechanic. You cannot be blamed for taking advantage of a game mechanic for your own personal game. This is not cheating. This is a clever use of game mechanics. It's just like getting the score run up in sports. If you don't like it, do something about it, also known as fix it. This one is on the developers and game creators, not the players, for taking advantage of a mechanic to get an advantage. This is not cheating, he says. This is not using an outside source to gain an unfair advantage. This is not an exploit. It's a hole in the code that has been abused for months now with the mobile cover that they have chosen not to look closer at. Now, I looked at a lot of other posts that Colonel Death, I don't know, :Death. Either way, I looked at a lot of those things, and you know what? From a gamer's perspective, you know, he really is right. I can completely understand why, but I will eventually reason why he's actually not right in some regards. Basically, what we're looking at, what normally will get you banned in games is, number one, is network manipulation. The most common form of this is intentionally disconnecting from the network in a way that causes, let's say, challenges to reset and to be awarded over and over again in something like Halo. That will get you banned. Obviously, hacking, using unauthorized software to manipulate gameplay, modify your profile, gain online rank, modifying your service tag, all that kind of stuff, using a third-party piece of software that you or someone else has created. That's number 2 for hacking. That's bannable as well. Number 3 is usually repeated AFK. So AFK is away from keyboard, away from controller, however you want to say it. This is basically leaving your controller or keyboard stationary, leaving your character in-game on purpose, repeatedly in order to earn credits or experience while not actually playing. Now, this doesn't mean that if a player does it one time that he's automatically, banned. This is a repeated offense, so it's not like, hey, you just happen to have to go to the bathroom, you want to stay in the game with your buddies, that's fine. It's repeated use of this. That's what you get to banned. And then obviously repeated quitting. Those are another things that you could argue is almost network manipulation, where you're not getting certain things. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? Like I said, I've been reading a lot of different posts, a lot of different exploit versus clever use of mechanics. Been looking at a lot of this stuff. So, Blizzard has banned players for clever use of mechanics before. In World of Warcraft, back in Nax, mages were able to spell steal the Bone Shield buff. Now, if you gave a class a spell to steal buffs and give a mod a stealable buff, that class is going to steal it. Surely this is just a clever use of game mechanics, right? I mean, it's not an exploit, but they were banning players for doing that. Then there was the blood pool fishing in Borean Tundra. People could kill an animal, walk into water to create a pool of blood, and then fish it out to get the achievement for Fish Feast. Is that an exploit? I mean, you basically gave the players the ability to create schools of fish, right? So why are people getting banned for that? So yeah, when it came to the Division, as you guys know, pure and simple, when 1.1 came out, they had this thing come out, and then they tried to fix it on Friday. So their update came out like a Tuesday or something. They tried to do a fix on Friday, and they basically made it so that the APC, once you did damage to it in the Incursion, instead of, once you did damage to it, then enemies would start attacking. But people found out a way around this too. You could still glitch through the doors, you could still glitch through the walls, so they really didn't fix it too much. And we basically all knew that they wouldn't be able to fix it until Monday. Well, Monday came around, and they tried to fix it again, and people still figured out a way to basically cheese it by getting around outside and shooting it from the outside. And then they fixed it again. So, they ultimately were... A bunch of news articles were going up that they were looking into the possibility of banning players for doing this exploit. And a lot of people were saying, hey, we're not using third-party software, we're not altering the game code, we're not using cheat devices, that basically, most gamers understand that as cheating, pure and simple. And apparently the Division has been getting a lot of cheaters on PC. But that's what they were doing. So they were thinking, we're going to ban people for using this exploit and whatnot. And a lot of people are saying, like, this one's on you, Massive Entertainment. Stop blaming your consumers. That's what one user, Carpe Bedlam, was saying. So what are the facts? Like, man, I have to go through this pretty quickly. I don't have time to really go through all the different stuff. I really did look at a lot of this kind of stuff. And I came down to a few different facts. I just don't, I don't got the time to write out a script using Upload Studio and whatnot. This is more off the cuff, more speaking from the heart, and I have all this information at my fingertips here, but I can't scroll through it and constantly be referencing it when I'm doing something like this. Sad to say, but so here it is. Here's the facts that I was mostly talking about. The player is responsible for knowing the rules, so they're responsible for knowing the code of conduct. That's number one. If you jump into a forum discussion and you try to start a different topic, you'll usually be told, sometimes nicely, that you need to start a new topic thread properly. You can't just ask a different question in the middle of somebody else's thread. You can't, on an ongoing topic. Same thing with games. You can't play dumb and say that you don't know the rules. It's up to you to find out the rules. It's up to those forum users to look up hey, what kind of things can I ask questions for? I can't just derail, an entire message post to answer my question and basically upset everything. So, those kind of things you have to know. It's up to you to know. Number two, and some of you are going to be probably mad, but it doesn't matter if current game mechanics allow it or not. If it's not intended by the developers, it's an exploit. Just because Blizzard and Ubisoft made a mistake in the design, it doesn't mean you can freely exploit it. There were players in, what was it? I think it's like World of Warcraft. No, it was Final Fantasy XIV, where there was the first group that was actually able to defeat final boss. Now, I'm not looking at the thing directly, but they figured out that they actually wouldn't take damage if their character was standing on an elevated piece of terrain. And eventually they ended up getting banned for defeating the final boss using this exploit. Now, you can argue it's game mechanics, but ultimately they were using a mechanic that made it unfair, and the players always seem to know that what they're doing is wrong, or it's different than what the game companies actually made. So the number three is that publishers treat MMOs and console games differently. So that's the other thing. When you're looking at WoW and stuff, they don't want people exploiting things. I mean, that is the definition of an exploit, is getting value from something. Or basically the second one is to use someone or something in a way that helps you unfairly. That's what an exploit is. So you can argue all you want about glitches and whatnot and bugs, being part of the game mechanics. In its purest form, by definition, if you're using that glitch or bug in order to benefit you unfairly, it's an exploit, and the game designers have the right to do it. But as I was saying, publishers treat MMOs and console games differently. Game designers are very protective about their online economies, and they work hard to keep everybody playing by the same rules. That's fair, right? If their world is flooded with tampered items, it nearly ruins the in-game economy. Players get frustrated, and then they leave the game, and it can be several months. So, yeah, they get treated quite differently, and having persistent online worlds are a lot different. Now, so that brings us to number 4. Number 4 is for full-price console games, the developer is responsible to identify glitches and fix them promptly. I know it's different, right? It's different if you're playing Final Fantasy XIV online. It's different than if you're playing The Division. If you're on PC, there's a lot harsher stuff, especially if you're trying to glitch something. If you're trying to max out a character, like in DC Online or something, that's understandable. But yeah, when it comes to console games, the developers really should stop complaining about it. So I am kind of agreeing with Cole Death from earlier. He is kind of right. I know, technically we all are using an exploit, so we really should get past that. We really are cheating, because the definition of cheating is gaining an unfair advantage to some degree, right? I'm not looking at Merriam-Webster's right here, but I mean, essentially what we are doing is cheating. So, someone in a forum once said that it's the people that that, you know, have higher morals, that don't cheat, that always get the short end of the stick because they don't get high level items, they don't get the really cool stuff, and so ultimately for playing fair they get punished, and, you know, the guy is kind of right. If things aren't working in an MMO, it's frustrating, but you need to live with it until things get changed. People that are glitching, they'll get dealt with responsibly at some point. On consoles, gamers want things to be fixed right away because they paid for a complete game. That shouldn't... I guess that's a bit different because there's obviously subscription fees in with that as a different thing, but yeah, you know what? So that's what it is. On consoles, we kind of expect things to get fixed, and if you don't want players, you know, glitching your stuff and getting elite things, then you really have to have your stuff together and make sure that other players can't take advantage of it. When a player gets underneath the map in a Call of Duty game, sure, he gets unfair kills, but that's kind of on the developer, right? I mean, that's what we all think. And eventually it gets fixed, but yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with this. I hope it kind of makes some sense, and I hope you guys discuss it down below. Alright, so I just wanted to say, you might want to forgive me a little bit. Like I said, it's tough using Upload Studio like this. You know, I could write out a script and basically read off of it, but you know, if I'm trying to time in stuff that I want to show up visually, like, you know, text or whatnot, or if I'm talking about different games, it's really hard because you have to, you know, go back and keep editing. And quite honestly, when it comes to Upload Studio, the more time I spent trying to upload to edit more videos and edit the length, I'm more worried about this thing crashing. So if this feels disjointed, sorry about that. Like I said, if I get regular video programs and whatnot, hopefully I can make this thing make more sense, show you like the actual articles I'm using. But yeah, just forgive me a little bit. I'm using Upload Studio. I got limits. Thanks for watching. I'll keep making it.